Welcome to Horns Up. I'm Animesh.
And I'm Peter.
And today we are chatting with Nite, a band from the San Francisco Bay Area who seem ready to take the metal world by storm with their second and new album, Voices of the Kronian Moon. Gentlemen, before we dive in, can I ask you guys to introduce yourselves to our listeners, because it's only audio and no one will know whose voice is whose.
Of course, yeah. So I'm going to go first. My name is Van, and I am the singer and guitar player for the band Nite.
And my name is Scott, and I am the other guitar player in Nite.
Van and Scott, thank you guys so much for taking some time out and joining us. Congratulations on the album, Voices of the Kronian Moon, released today, 25th March 2022. How are you guys feeling? Relieved, anxious, glad to get it all over with?
Scott, would you like to go first?
Yeah. For me, some of those things that you just said. Excited is probably the main thing. Relieved, sort of, in the sense of like this has been, it's a classic thing all bands say. This has been done for a while for us, or at least mostly done. So it's just we've been eager to get it out and just have to wait for the proper. The vinyl production and all the other things and the release schedule and so forth. So to finally have it be out and everyone to hear it is great. It's relief and it's exciting.
Yeah, same thing for me. Like this is ready for quite a while. There were some holdups with the vinyl production throughout the industry. So. Yeah, we've been waiting for a while to get this thing out. For me personally, what I'm most excited about is, number one, I really want to get a hold of the vinyl in my in my hands. I still haven't gotten one, and I've seen some people have gotten their orders in already, but I haven't seen it yet. So I really wanna get it.
What a year we live in, huh? That the customers get it before the actual band.
Exactly. That, and the thing that I'm looking forward the most is that this thing that happens with every album that we put out is that the songs kind of change when the audience becomes part of this. I don't know how to explain this exactly, but it's something that I've experienced like with every album that I have worked on. So it's this thing, like I wanna stop experiencing the songs the way we do in our practice room, like, or in our desktop folder, with the mixes, and I wanna hear what the audience likes, what they don't like, how they interpret the album and the lyrics and all that. So this is the most fun for me.
Now, considering what you just said, right, I'm very curious and I have to know, how many times have you actually heard the entire album before releases? And if you want, you can specify the number of mixes if you'd like. But another part that I really want to know is, should the audience have a way to listen to the album? I mean, just to give you an example, I listen to it on these headphones on my phone or on my laptop. That's it. Like, I don't have like a hi-fi audio system and stuff like that.
And like, do you want them to have the vinyl in their hand looking over the artwork, or is it okay if they're putting on in the background and occasionally like washing dishes?
Look, the truth is that no matter what we say right now, nobody will give a fuck, you know what I mean? So the people are gonna do what they're gonna do anyway. So I can tell you that I actually happen to have mixed this album, and so I've went through many maddening hours of like listening and fixing and adjusting and editing and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, for me, the album matters the most when I put on my little headphones and I go out for a walk, or I put it in the car and I drive to work. So I have really nice speakers here, but who cares? You know what I mean? Like as long as it sounds good from a tiny laptop speaker or a crappy car stereo, that's the most important thing. Even for me, that I have access to really nice studio speakers.
Scott, how many times have you heard the album?
Well, Van, as he said, since he did, he did the mixing, he did everything, the audio. he's probably heard it at least 10 times more than the other 3 members of Nite. So he kind of bore that burden for us. But so I can't really say how many I have, but it's far fewer. But to your point about the like listening, I don't have any good audio setup. I don't have a record player. I have like okay speakers that I rarely use. So it's the kitchen washing dishes, it's the car on the way to work, and that's great. I mean, that's however I can fit in listening time. I hope other people get the same. Wherever they can fit the Nite album in is cool by us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the reason why I asked that question is because of how excited I personally am about this album. Like, I'm really looking forward to it. I haven't heard the whole thing yet. Only heard the single so far, and I will be listening to it eventually this weekend, etc. I wanted to ask you guys: Are you guys perfectionists? Do you think you guys are perfectionists? And how happy are you yourselves with the album? And I'll tell you where I'm coming from on that. Having been on a couple of albums or EPs, etc. myself, there's always these parts when, when you're listening back to it eventually, like months down the line or something, or even during the time of release, where it'll probably have all of you chuckling because you know what happened in the studio when you recorded or wrote it, and none of the listeners do. Or on the flip side, parts that will have you nodding your head in disapproval, thinking it should have been the other way and we didn't quite get it right, but nobody really notices or nobody really cares because overall it's just awesome to listen to.
Speaking for myself, I'm definitely a perfectionist to fault. Like, it's been something that I'm trying to work on and trying to let go of things eventually. But we did work on this album as much as we wanted to, and we could have done it earlier, but it was a conscious choice that, we were not happy with where we were, and we took a few months longer to finish the album. So the thing with albums is that was the best we were, like almost a year ago. So, time waits for no one, and right now we're at a much different place than the place we were last year. So that will never change. Even if, with that album, I can honestly say that we exhausted all things that we wanted to fix and we wanted to re-record and all that stuff. But still, right now we're at a different place. I am very happy with the album. I'm very proud of it, and I love the songs, and I'm very proud of all the guys and of us as a unit. So I'm very happy with it.
Yeah, and to state probably the obvious thing that all the bands say that are saying now that are releasing an album now is that this was recorded under conditions of the pandemic, and we were pretty careful for quite, we still are, but we before there were vaccines and things, we weren't rehearsing together, we weren't seeing each other, it was all Zoom calls and things like this. So it was a pretty interesting and weird way to come arrive at an album. So that's not really speaking to the quality, but I'm just talking about how it was a bizarre experience. It wasn't, we were able to like workshop. We did a lot of, rehearsing up to it. And then when the world shut down, we kind of had to carry on in a peculiar way. So it'd be interesting, knock on wood, if things stay a little calmer like they are now, to go into the next phase and actually be collaborating in real time, like in the same room more often.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like once things go normal, you'd have like the band WhatsApp group, like crickets going through, like no chat because you're like tired about that, right? But I must know, like, what are your expectations from the album at this point?
Well, expectations from the album, like, we're going into this, with a cautious optimism, right? We don't really, we know that because of Season of Mist, we're getting a lot more attention than we did on the first album. I wanna believe that good music is gonna make its way to people's hearts. You know what I mean? I wanna believe in the fairy tale that as long as we do great music, it's gonna work for itself. But on the other hand, we're all in this for a long time, and I know that I've done like some really great albums that had not that great promotion behind them, and not so many people heard them at the end of the day. To me, as long as we can have a successful album cycle and nothing terrible happens, and we can go into the next one, that's all I can hope for. So maybe something happens, maybe something happens. I mean, something that takes us from the level we are now to the next one. But even if we stay where we are and we just gradually grow over time, I would be very, very happy with that.
Yeah, and so much of this music world is it's the classic, hard work and luck, and we can try to engineer the luck to some degree, but so much of that really is just chance and how the wind's blowing and what the media is interested in and what the fans are interested in, and you just you can't overthink it, and you just have to be yourself, and like Ben said, hope that kind of by putting out what you think is quality, that it finds the right audience, and hopefully that sparks something, and sometimes that can grow faster than you would expect, which would be great. But if we do the slow gradual climb, we'll put in the work and get there that way.
So, actually the reason why I asked was exactly what you said. I mean, Voices of the Kronian Moon is being released by a larger label, Season of the Mist, and I want to know, like, how has the label kind of helped? I mean, sure, you've got the exposure and PR or the publicity happening, but what are the other aspects of being on a label, especially in today's time, right? How does that help?
I think being on, for better or for worse, like being on a label still is the way to go, in my opinion, because there's just so like all the not that they're like the gatekeepers, but like without promotion, like there's nothing can be done. Like you need to put the same thing in front of people's faces like dozens of times for it to register. Like, and I see it first and foremost from my family, like my family that lives in Greece anyway. I am playing with this band for like 5 years or something. They kind of forget that I am singing in this band, even my brother, kind of, you know what I mean? So like if my family doesn't know what I'm doing, how am I expecting like some stranger to care about what I'm doing, So you need this like machine of like PR and promotion and like blogs, like, and podcasts like you guys to get this thing going out in the world. So I would love to experience one day a world that doesn't need all that system, maybe. But we are still here, and Season of Mist is like the best place we could hope for to be, because it's such a genuine like underground heavy metal label that became huge because they're doing a great job for decades, and so that is something that is happening. But to maybe answer the first part of your question, what Season of Mist brought to us first and foremost was the expertise of all these people who are dealing with the promotion of this album. But also it was great that being on such a big label, we kind of went stiff. We were too scared to do something different at the time, and then the management of the label was really pushing us. Like, it was like, you shouldn't do something that is like yet another album cover. Do exactly what you want to do. So stuff like that really helped us to take this to the next level for us. To do things that we were not ready to do when we were deeper in the underground.
And I think Van covered it very well. I would just say the promotion machine, and just like Van was saying, the size of the label, just it's such a faster route to so many more eyeballs, right? It's just, that platform is there, which is amazing, and they can push it out. And, just so many more people are going to see it. And, they also just, this industry is pretty small. Like you realize over time, you know from the podcast, like all these labels, all these media, groups in Europe and US and around the world, like it's not that huge a world. So it's to be connected to one of the sort of, main labels in that world is a huge benefit.
It's interesting because before we started this chat, we were talking about how bands need to work extra hard in this day and age of digital media to really promote and get themselves heard. And on the flip side of it is the expectation and the reality and what actually constitutes or how you guys would define success, right? So which then leads up to the question, what does success mean to you guys at the moment and with this album as such?
Success is, it's relevant to where we are right now, but to me, like things are going okay as long as we were able to do the things we want to do, and like we were able to do a first album, put it out there, and then we were able to do a second album. We are now able to go on tour next month, which is something we wanted to do, and we were able to do a couple of music videos. So as long as these are happening, everything is fine. I think that we are in our successful phase. When we stop having the band members we need, when we stop having money to do album stuff, that's where things are going down. But success is I don't know. To me, I don't really want to think about it that way. Like I mean, whatever comes. But at the end of the day, I know that I have like X amount of years left in this life. I have X amount of albums left. I just want to do those albums. It doesn't really matter what happens exactly, or if I'm like 60 on a yacht or a beach in Greece or something, it's gonna be fine. I'm gonna be a good old person. As long as I live. So it doesn't really matter. Like what I would love us to achieve is a bigger show. Like that's what we're going for. And every month it gets bigger. Every month we add things to it, and we are getting there. But getting the bigger show is why we do all of those things, and we have some way to go yet, because we're not where we want to end up.
Just getting to do bigger tours and bigger, just to peak at one kind of success. That's important to me. I like touring. I like playing live, and if things break our way and we get to tour more of the US, and if we get to tour Europe like that, that's a huge component of what I consider success. So I'd be very eager for that.
All right. So let's play a song right here. Which one is the best to introduce the album to a new listener, and why?
So I would say the album opener, Acheron, is like the most up to date what we're up to on this album. I think it's the best possible opener. So I would say Acheron would be my choice.
I think that or the first single, Kronian Moon.
Okay, so 2 votes. So because it's the album opener, let's play Acheron right now, and then we can schedule Kronian Moon for later. So here it is. Here is Acheron from Voices of the Kronian Moon.
The end is for
was Akron from Voices of the Kronian Moon by San Francisco's NWO champions, Nite. Yes, San Francisco Bay Area, not thrash, but NWO. As someone who has never been to the Bay Area, but has only heard the stories and legends of the area's metal cred as such, can you help us understand how the area influenced the band's music? Could Nite, especially with the way you guys sound, could Nite have taken shape anywhere else?
Well, I don't know. I cannot answer that. I wanna believe yes, but it's funny that I think that the fact that we all four of us ended up here for some reason from different. I mean, Avinash is actually from here, but the other three of us like ended up here. I think has a lot to do with the area, and I think it influenced us in a way. I don't know, similar to what happened in the 80s and 90s. At least that's what I want to believe, because I personally fled from LA because I moved there from Germany, and it was a weird place for me. But also LA had a very big role to play in Nite. So because I that's where I started doing the first demos before I moved up here and I met with the guys. So I think that happened to Metallica too, right? They were down there and it wasn't working out for them, and they moved up here because it's cheaper to, or like it was cheaper. Now it's not cheaper. it's quite the opposite, but it's kind of more humane here. I don't know, like LA is such a rat race, and it's like all these like star system people wanting to break big in the star system anyway, and it's not a place where I can see any of us living happily anyway. So I don't know, like this area. I mean, right now for me, I've lived here for 5 years. Scott is here for much longer than that. I love like the whole free spirit of it. I love how we are like in nature so much. It's a tiny place. We're only like 800,000 people in the city, with a lot more people, of course, around the Bay Area. It's such a weird place, and such a place of innovation. Like such amazing things have happened here, like from the tech world to like movies like Star Wars and stuff like that, and ILM and Lucasfilms and all that. I don't know, like it's just an amazing place for me to be able to live here. And for me, it's also, I have a connection with the place from Marty Friedman and Jason Baker. I'm a huge fan, and the fact that all that stuff happened here is such a crazy thing for me. And like so, like they lived and they were jamming back then, like blocks from my home, and I'm a little bit of a fanboy with these two, so that's a big deal for me. But yeah, I think that I covered what I wanted to say. I think maybe Scott wants to add his own side of the story.
My thing I was going to add to that is just like, I don't know if I can draw any direct parallels to like the kind of the story, the thrash era and the rise of Metallica and Exodus and everyone else and all that key stuff that's such a part of history here. But even now, there's a really kind of vibrant and exciting metal scene here, and it's varied in a way that I think maybe some other cities don't have, and just and we almost have two cities, because I mean you have San Francisco and Oakland, and of course San Jose and Sacramento, and it depends on how far you want to go. But between all that, you just have a pretty great community of fans and bands. You've got Necrot and Vastum and these exciting death metal bands, and you've got Hellfire and Molten, and it runs, we fit somewhere in amongst that, but there's still a lot of variety. And I guess just speaking to the benefit of having a healthy scene and actual clubs to play out at, so that's certainly a factor in how we've made it this far.
I just quickly want to say I really love Necrot, so I'm glad you mentioned them. Yeah. And we had them on the podcast. Looking forward to their new album, I think, which will be out this year, hopefully.
Yeah, later this year.
Yeah. But coming back, right, to what you were saying, another part of it is NWO BHM. And honestly, on first listen, very few would peg Nite as Americans.
Well, I'm laughing here. If you
No, I
you would
like
see
that.
my video, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, I don't really consider myself American or non-American. I know that I was born in Greece, and my family is from Greece, and I grew up there, and then I left. Like, I don't really like the flags and labels of that people, in the governments put on people. But there's a
That
there's
wasn't the
a very
intention. I mean, it's like
No.
you peg your bio and like most, and I don't know why that is, right? It should just be, hey, here, check out this new classic metal or heavy metal band, but it's always tinged with, check out this new band from the San Francisco area, or check out this new band from Bombay, India. And that
Yeah.
immediately gives you like, holy shit, these guys are from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it plays
Yeah,
against
there's
expectation.
Which is actually, if you go back, right, it's very different when you actually got CDs or cassettes as promos. Unless you actually sat to read the notes that came along with it, you wouldn't care. You just look, cool artwork, chuck in the CD, chuck in the cassette, check
Good
it out,
song.
right?
Yeah, you play it out. Yeah.
In that terms, just like looking at your sound, like for someone blindly just listening to Nite, I wouldn't peg you as American.
And by American, I think what we mean is not from the San Francisco Bay Area.
Right.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
so we think of it as a compliment. Is that?
Yeah. I think I take it as a compliment, to be honest with you. Like, for me personally, I come from Europe, right? So for me, heavy metal is a much different story. Not on Scott or Pat. I think we're on the same page there. But like, for the average American heavy metal person, like, I think we have different. Like, there are many things that are considered metal here that to me are alternative music. And there are things that I consider the essence of heavy metal that are funny to people here, So for me, like, heavy metal is Iron Maiden, Metallica, Megadeth, which are American bands, of course, but also like Gamma Ray and Rage and Blind Guardian and all these like European bands that I grew up on, that are like. Also Savatage, which are also from the US, but like I don't know, maybe it's a different era of heavy metal that was like the mainstream of the heavy metal bands, but I definitely come from that time, and I have to say that I live in the 80s and 90s by the fact that I listen to the same albums like again and again, like thousands of times. I of course listen to new albums and stuff, but like, I am that dude with 100 CDs that I listen to them over and over again. So yeah, me personally, I come from a different place in time.
And obviously I'm American and grew up with a lot of American metal, but I connected really strongly in the early to mid 90s when I was really kind of coming of age into my metalness, and with like the crop of like Century Media bands and relapse bands and so forth at the time, like Amorphous and Paradise Lost and Sentenced and all this kind of like melodic death metal, melodic heavy Tiamat, etc. And that made a huge impact on me, and I think kind of changed whatever course I was on to kind of shift it more that way, while I still worship Megadeth and so forth, but I think my sensibility got imprinted strongly with like a European flair. So I take that as a compliment too, that that you hear more of a Euro sound in the Nite sound.
Okay. Now again, I think Van, you've brought this up before, and I think Scott also, that you are also in other bands, right? What was the original plan for Nite when you got together? Was it going to be a side project, or you all said, we're going to treat this as one of our main bands itself?
For me personally, I mean, I am theoretically in other bands that have not disbanded, but they're not really active right now. So I also moved from Europe to the US in 2015. So I kind of had to start again. So for me, I don't do anything else other than Nite right now. So I've also used to be, because I'm an engineer slash a producer too. I used to be involved in many different things in some capacity. Lately, I'm not even doing that. Like, I want to be focused on this thing, and only work on that for the next year, for the last 5 years, and for the near future. So for me, it's the main thing, and yeah, it will hopefully stay that way.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, I'm been in the live lineup of High Spirits for quite a while now, since 2009 or so. But that's a peculiar setup because High Spirits is all Chris Black on record. He plays everything. So we've had essentially the same lineup for live shows that this whole time, but it doesn't require a whole lot. It's not a creative thing. It's more of a fun, you go out and you play shows and you have a great time. So it doesn't demand year-round attention from me. It's more like, hey, we're going to do around a show. So you just kind of get in playing shape and you do it, and it's great. So I would say Nite is my focus as far as a real four guys playing in a band. That's the main thing. And other things that I've been involved with before, like Dawnbringer, those have been basically retired. Like Chris Black kind of put those to rest. So yeah, it's really just Nite and occasional High Spirit shows for me.
Hey, unless Chris comes up with another band, right?
he always has a couple other bands.
Yeah, he always has something in there. But on that note, let's play another song. And you mentioned it, Scott. So we're going to play Kronian Moon. What's a cool fact about the song that the listeners should know?
We made a video for this song entirely by ourselves with some drones and some gear that we collected, and it was a learning experience, and I think it came out better than we had hoped. And check it out.
Who was the costume designer?
we had some help. We had some help with that.
Animesh is asking the right questions.
The costume designer was Mr. Scott and his wife Rose, actually.
Yeah, my wife Rose. Yeah, it was great. And various thrift stores and other secret ingredients from the area. So
Nice. Check out the video and come back and listen to the song again. It's called Kronian Moon.
Burning bright, light the sky.
So you just heard Kronian Moon from Nite's Voices of the Kronian Moon, and we're talking to Van and Scott from the band. Let's talk a little bit more about songwriting and production, right? So first up, songwriting. How did you guys approach the songs on this album? What's different as such from what we heard on the first album, Darkness, Silence, Mirror, Flame?
The way we go about writing songs is a little bit prolific in a way. We just write songs. So we just spend like the life cycle of the album, like a year or two, just writing demos, and we usually go through around like 30 songs, like 25, 30 songs, and then we eventually like listen to them and we narrow down to 15, 10, and to the 8 songs that came up for this album. Along the way, we make some decisions about the direction we want to take with the album, and with this one, at an early stage, Scott actually had a very wise comment about made a very wise question, like what do we want the headlines for this album to be like in the reviews and whatnot. So what we wanted to achieve with this album was to take where we were before, but take it into a more melodic and not a lighter mood to it, and steer away slightly from the horror theme to a more fantasy oriented and like science fiction infused thematology. So that along with the songs that rose to the surface and were the most interesting songs that we came up in that time, kind of created the album.
That's interesting because that puts the album and the context behind the album like a lot more clearer, because as a listener, I must say the biggest difference I found was how accessible, positive, and dare I say fun the songs on Voices seem to be, like almost as if it's a product of not just conviction in your sound, but I also get the feeling that this time around these songs, the band just seems so much more relaxed and wholly immersed in the sound that you guys are going for. Scott, is this the kind of sound that Nite needs to like kind of focus on, or is this only for this particular album?
I mean, I'm sure we'll, because we're gonna explore different creative things, I'm sure we'll shift some, but I have a feeling we'll pick up at least some of that thread that you're talking about, like that sort of energy, that kind of even in the guitar work, there's just like kind of I don't know, like an electricity or just like a forward momentum to it that's maybe a little less dark, like Van said, than the first one, which was a little more black metal tinged even in the music. And this one was, leaning into the melody more and streamlined, I think, just in arrangements and just in the focus of the melodies and the riffs. And I'm excited about that, and we'll see where we take it from this point forward. But I think you're hearing a lot of what we intended.
Okay, which is actually was going to be my next question. Like, was this the sound that you guys had originally envisioned for the band? Because like when I first heard Nite, I was confused. I was like, this is not supposed to kind of work together. I mean, if you think about it, right? Traditional metal with like blackened vocals, because I think that's the most easiest description for you. But somehow, like when I've heard Voices of the Kronian Moon, it just like I'm humming along, I'm singing along. That melodic aspect is
for us. That the whole band started with that as an essence. Like for me personally, like when I started before I met the guys, I did some of the demos of the first album anyway, and the original idea was that like basically, why hasn't anybody done Power Slave, Summer in Time, and Seventh Son kind of music, which is my favorite type of heavy metal, with black metal vocals. Like I heard at the time, the album from Tribulation called Children of the Night, and very different album. But to me, that album sounded like Killer's era Maiden with black metal vocals, and that kind of made me think like, oh, this sounds amazing. Like why can't we take it to the next level and go to the next Maiden era and do the same thing? For me personally, like I love that Maiden era, and I love a lot of the bands that I mentioned before, like Gamma Ray and Halloween and all that. I cannot really see myself being part of a band that has a clean singer and does exactly that type of music. Like I don't see anything left to be done in that way. So I always wanted to play this type of metal, but I felt like I missed it. Like I wasn't 20 years old in the 80s. So with that comes the thing that all these albums back then, they didn't really try that hard to fit in the box that we have made ourselves to have to fit in now in this modern metal world. That everybody, like if you don't have like blood and chains on your video, like you're not doing metal. Like like I personally come from that era. As I said before, I still listen to those albums, and I just don't want to do only dark music. Like I think there is heavy metal in Heaven Can Wait, and there is heavy metal in Only the Good Die Young, and all those songs that are much lighter songs than the amazing Slayer albums. Okay, I don't get me wrong. Slayer are awesome and stuff, but there's like all different kinds of metal that can be done, and we want to explore that. So that's what is happening. Next album, who knows? Next album is already in the works, and it's neither lighter or darker. It's a different direction right now, but that might change. But we want to be free to just create what we want to create. We don't want to have to do something because we have to do it for someone else. Like we want to let the music that comes along dictate what is happening, not some list of things that we have to include for us to be metal enough or something.
This is directed towards you, Van. Is that you mentioned earlier that you're responsible for mixing and mastering the album. How challenging was the process for you? I mean, because you have to kind of look at and be critical of stuff that you've performed and written also. And why not get another set of ears in the room and kind of just outsource the job?
Yeah, look, it's not an easy thing to do. Believe me. Like the worst part for me was that I could change vocals till the last day. Like I would really like to not be able to do that, because I literally changed vocals the last day. Like I had to change a couple of words. So yeah, combine that with the fact that I'm not the most like straightforward person in the world. Like I'm not the most sane person in the whole world. Like it's a recipe for a disaster. The reason why I'm doing it, to be honest with you, I do enjoy doing it up to the mixing stage, to be honest with you. But the reason why I am the one doing it is that right now we do have a really nice budget, but we definitely don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to do an album. And I really put hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of work into this. Like we've been working for a year on that album. So if we were paying somebody, we would have to pay them a lot of money, and hopefully one day we will be able to afford someone else to do that on the level that I am doing it right now. But at the time being, that's the case. On that note, we did bring some really cool people to work on the album, but they were more like additional production people. So we did I did ask one of my old colleagues to help me out with the production of the drums, which was more of a production of like the tempos and how the parts were working out. He was not here. He was in Greece, and another friend of mine from Norway. They both like added value to this album. But yeah, unfortunately, we were the best we could afford. I was the best we could afford. So yeah.
Nite is so much. It's Van is the core. It's his vision. We're all participating and supporting it and contributing to it, but it's definitely like the source is him, and that extends beyond the the writing and the playing and the vocalizing, but also to oversimplify it, he knows what it should sound like, and he has that very deep knowledge of recording and mixing, and professionally done it for a long time, and it's not just how the riffs are or how the vocals are, but it's how they sound. It's how what are the tones, what are the how should the drums be mixed and panned, and all these kind of million little details that make up the whole thing, in the same way that artwork or anything kind of contributes to the the grand vision. So even if we get lucky enough that we can outsource some of this and not make Van's life miserable for a year, it's still going to be his valuable kind of production and engineering insight that's going to make sure that we're having the right sound for the records.
Okay. The other aspect of the band and the album that really fascinated me was the visuals, the artwork, the music videos. I'm sure it took a lot of effort. What's the visual aesthetic as such for Nite, and how do you guys construct it? What's the idea behind this lovely retro yet futuristic sci-fi, comic bookish yet sketchy? I mean, it's blending some of the coolest things about all of these worlds into one lovely package. What's the idea behind this approach?
To come back to your first question, actually, you said like how would we want people to like experience this album? So we know kind of how we would like to experience this album, which brings us back to the times where we would buy like Iron Maiden covers that had all these amazing details, and we would just put the album on and we would look at the album cover and find all the things that Derek Riggs like had put in the back cover or something. That comes from that era, definitely. So there's a lot of inspiration from those Maiden albums and those 80s heavy metal albums. What we tried to do with this one was to something that we talked about in the past, but we didn't want to go that crazy on our debut. There's this coupling of this type of heavy metal with this type of vocals and this European comic book heavy metal magazine type of universe anyway, that we thought that it would be really interesting to do that coupling. It doesn't mean that we're going to stay necessarily in that world forever, but we'll find out if we're going to stay in this world forever. But for this album, we wanted to do that. We wanted to use this as a vehicle to go a little bit more, a little further out in this like fantasy world that we built, the world of the Kronian Moon and the story that we're talking about. And we were fortunate enough to be able to convince this amazing artist Day from Spain that we first saw in a heavy metal magazine, actually, from 2019, I think. He's an incredible artist. I mean, he has never done any album artworks before, and it was a little tough to convince him to do this one. But thankfully he did, and he did an amazing job. And he also played such a huge role in the formation of the album, because we sent him the lyrics and the concepts of the songs, and then he came up with things that we didn't tell him to do, like these characters he created were all his, and that kind of influenced us, and it also influenced the lyrics later on, because he came up with this person holding the stuff, and somehow this person became what we call the Time Raider, and we wrote like part of lyrics that were not there before he had made it. So that it was really a fascinating experience to work on the album this way.
Wow.
There's a visual like through line, from the first record. There's the sort of hooded figure that's kind of the mascot, and that's obviously a very adaptable form. So pushing it, Day, like Van said, who's an amazing artist, came up with these concepts that we would never been able to, if we were, obsessively art directing it, we would never come up with ourselves. So he brought that creativity, and continue with this hooded mascot motif, but brought it in this great sci-fi direction, which, like Van said, was influenced by Heavy Metal Magazine and just kind of European comic culture. And it was cool and it was different. And it created a kind of an interesting, almost expandable world. Like we'll see, like, we may shift for the next album, but for this album and for even stage production, if we get to that point and have the means, it implies some pretty cool opportunities.
So wait, this has got me excited because there is a possibility somewhere down the line that there may be a Nite comic, right? Or something like that. That would be pretty neat.
I would love that. Yeah, I would personally love that.
That would be amazing, yeah.
But Scott, since you talked about stage production, you've got a gig coming up, an album launch gig in April and also a US tour. So how are preparations going for that? Are you all ready to be among the crowds again? And what can the attendees expect?
Yeah, we're very excited. We, essentially the Nite live experience has been stunted for the whole duration of the pandemic because the first album was released right when lockdown happened. So we never got to tour for that. And then obviously gestation period and, now finally release of the second album. We're long overdue to do some touring, and all we've really done to date is regional, Bay Area shows, which have been great. So we're really excited to get out there. It's going to be understandably smaller clubs at first, and we're gonna earn our wings and pay our dues there. But we're gonna make the most of it, and hopefully bring a couple accessories and banners and such lights to make it a fun show, and just try to play really well and hopefully use this as a springboard for better stuff down the road.
That was a breezy chat. Final question, guys. Since we've spoken so much about Iron Maiden, which isn't really like something off the contrary here on Horns Up. Every episode, I think Iron Maiden comes up in some manner.
And Metallica, come on.
Yeah, and Metallica's a distant second, but whatever, or a close second. But if you guys were to cover an Iron Maiden song, which one would it be? Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm going to just speak for me. Van can pick his, and then we can pull the rest.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Deja Vu.
Wow.
I think that's a really cool song that does not get enough. It's not as covered as the classics, the Trooper and Hallowed Be the Name and so forth. I'm going to say Deja Vu.
Van.
Yeah, even though Power Slave, Summer in Time, and Seven Sun are my favorite Maiden albums. I've been thinking for a while that we should do Wrathchild, but even though it's from the Paul Di'Anno era, yeah. But I think that we can really pull that off well.
Yeah, the drums are kind of tricky in that one.
Wrathchild, weirdly enough, if you play it on a drop D kind of a tuning, it just makes it so much more bouncier.
We should check it out.
The big D to E.
Yeah. Anyways, Van and Scott, full power and a big horns up tonight for Voices of the Kronian Moon. Thank you for taking the time to chat with a couple of boys from Bombay, India. I hope you enjoyed this.
Yeah, we did. Thank you for having us. Thank you for all the kind words for the album and for bringing the album to the attention of your audience. And we hope to see you again.
Yeah, this was great. Thanks so much for bringing us on. And this was a great chat.
Alrighty, that's the episode for this week. What's an Iron Maiden song that you, dear listeners, would like to cover? Tell us. We're all ears at hornsuppod.com or on Twitter at hornsuppod. As always, I'm at Asmawani.
And I'm at Trend Crusher.
And this was Horns Up.
Horns Up, guys.